Curtis, Natalie Jacobson, Mike Lynch, and Dick Albert, bringing a world of news to New England. This is News Center 5 at 6.
And later, Lotus breaks new ground with an unprecedented offer to its employees. That report and more still ahead. First, an unprecedented step by a Bay State company, insurance benefits for gay couples. That report is next.
The Cambridge-based Lotus computer company today announced a family benefits package for gay and lesbian couples. Lotus says it recognizes the traditional family is changing, and this is the company's way of keeping up with those changes. Details now from our medical reporter, Terry Schrader.
Polly Laurelchild is an administrative assistant for Lotus. She is also a lesbian. Now, for the first time in her life, she will be offered a full benefits package that will include coverage for the partner of her choice.
We work as hard as anyone, and that it's time that our families have the same stature and the same legitimacy of recognition by our employer.
At least 10% of Lotus's 4,000 employees are homosexual. The company predicts at least half of those, or about 200, are in committed relationships and will take advantage of the new program.
What this does is basically level the playing field. It provides the gay and lesbian employees a way to have their relationships recognized by signing a spousal equivalency affidavit.
Lotus requires both partners of a same-sex relationship to sign the company's affidavit, granting both partners life insurance, medical and dental insurance, parenting leave, sick child leave, and bereavement services. Lotus says the cost of the program is negligible, and concerns about diseases such as AIDS are unfounded.
The average cost for an AIDS patient is $50,000. You compare that to heart attack, which in hospital only is $45,000, or cancer. A catastrophic cancer case can be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Lotus wouldn't have to take such a step if, marriages between same-sex couples were legalized, and unfortunately that's not the case right now. Maybe in the future.
Whether it's recognizing non-traditional relationships, offering daycare, or helping employees with aging parents, companies are realizing that family issues affect the workplace, and they're beginning to respond. In Boston, Terry Schrader, News Center 5.
From WHDH-TV Boston, News 7 at 6.
Also, the Lotus Corporation charts a new course in healthcare offering gay employees the right to claim benefits for their mates. A controversial and groundbreaking benefit policy from the Lotus Development Corporation. Gay and lesbian employees of the Cambridge-based company will be entitled to health and other benefits for their live-in partners. News 7 business editor Marianne Kane tells us about the move that corporate America is closely watching.
Andy Canavan is the brains behind Lotus's spousal equivalency policy. A software engineer, she fought for the extension of family benefits to the partners of gay and lesbian employees.
Those of us who believe that we are all created equal think that this is a message that confirms that. It says that we have value, the same value as straight folks do.
It's estimated that 10% of the U.S. and Lotus's workforce are gay or lesbian. Lotus will require them to sign a document confirming they're a household before extending benefits.
It's analogous to a marriage contract that you would sign at a justice of the peace. And what they do is they come in, they agree to sign it, and then they have access to the policy.
Lotus is the first major company in corporate America to adopt such a policy, but a number of other companies are examining the situation. Lotus officials say the cost of extending life, medical, and other benefits is negligible. Importantly, unmarried heterosexual partners are not included.
In a society where heterosexual couples are allowed to marry and do have an avenue for getting these benefits, and lesbian and gay couples are completely denied that avenue.
Lotus is doing this for competitive reasons.
We're drawing most of our talent pool from a national talent pool. The competition is always for the best of that pool.
And I really hope that a lot of other companies will look to us for the model that we've created, and they in turn will implement that, and that this will become a standard and not an exception.
But in corporate America, Lotus stands alone. Marianne Kane, News 7.
Lotus's policy applies only to the 3,100 U.S. employees. The company employs 4,000 people worldwide.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. When the company that makes Lotus software for computers announced today it will start offering partners of its homosexual employees the same benefits offered to the spouses of married workers. Lotus says it's the first such program in a major American company.
Good morning, America. Hope you had a good weekend. I'm Charles Gibson.
And I'm Joan Lennon, coming up in our first hour this Monday, September 9th. All right, thank you, Spencer. It is now 10 minutes after, and a long-awaited decision hailed by gay rights groups. The Lotus Development Corporation, a computer software company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, has become the first major U.S. company to extend health coverage and other benefits to the partners of gay employees. Russ Campanello is Vice President for Human Resources at Lotus, and he joins us this morning from WCVB in Boston. And also with us here in New York is Tom Butterworth of Hewitt Associates, an employee benefits consulting firm. And it's nice to have you both with us. Mr. Campanello, why don't you tell us, why did, first of all, Lotus feel that it was necessary to extend the benefits? Well, how did this decision come about?
Well, we decided to extend the benefits really for a couple of reasons. One is fundamentally we believe it's a fair and equitable program for our employees. And secondly, as the competition in the software industry for the top talent gets more and more competitive, we're trying to position ourselves as the employer of choice for a lot of communities, for every community that we recruit from, whether it be black, Hispanic, Asian, women, or now gays and lesbians.
And how does it actually work? I mean, how does an employee, a homosexual employee, become eligible for the benefits?
What they need to do is they need to sign an affidavit of spousal equivalency, which has some conditions that explain their relationship to one another. They come in, they sign this affidavit, and they'll be given access to the plan.
As I understand it, the statement is that you plan to spend the rest of your life together and that you are each other's sole support, right?
That's correct. That they are each other's spouse, and they plan to intend to stay so indefinitely, and that they are responsible for each other's welfare.
But there's no time requirement as to the length of time that they've been together or anything?
No, there's not. We don't have that requirement for our heterosexual couples. We didn't think it was fair.
All right, I want to get to that, but first of all, Tom, why don't you, what does a company need to consider as they hear this morning and think now the pressure's going to be on? What do they need to consider before making a decision like this?
Well, Russ is right that companies do compete for employees.
Yeah.
And if there's an important element of the workforce out there that Lotus is going to get, and if I'm a competitor, I don't have access to that group of employees, I'll put in this type of a benefit program. I mean, companies are going for quality employees. The competing aspect of this, of course, is that especially in this economy, companies are looking to cut back in costs, and probably one of the main sources of cost containment these days is in the healthcare plans. Adding any group of employees to my healthcare plan is going to increase costs, irrespective of the profile of that group.
And of course, it is the profile of the group which has some companies concerned because they are possibly, in particular, suspect to AIDS, and that will be such an incredible expense down the road.
Well, it may or may not be any more expensive to have a population that has risk factors for AIDS when you take into account other aspects of that group. For instance, that they may not have as many childbearing couples. The cost could conceivably be less. I'm sure Russ has, or Mr. Campanella has studied that factor before he implemented the program.
And what were the feelings, Russ?
The feelings were that we had spent almost 2 years' worth of research looking at the cost issue. The cost issue from a risk standpoint was completely unfounded, especially as Tom mentioned, when you consider some of the other dynamics of the population. And more specifically, when you start comparing it to other healthcare costs for heterosexual couples or for the broader population, which include cardiac care or cancer.
All right, any sense that this was discriminatory to heterosexual couples who are not married?
Not at all. I mean, that's the debate, obviously. We're not concerned. The intent here was to provide a fair and equitable option for a community of people that doesn't have an option to be recognized as a spouse any other way. The heterosexual community has the option to have a committed relationship recognized, and that institution is marriage.
Do you expect that this is going to set a trend? Do you see more and more companies, Russ, starting to have programs like this?
Well, it's interesting. In the course of the research, we bumped into a lot of other companies who were asking the same question that we were of the companies that have gone before us, or of the organizations that have gone before us. So I suspect there's a number of folks out there that are actively considering this. In the last week, I've talked to a lot of my colleagues across the nation who are asking for information about how we ended up doing this and how they might go about doing it themselves.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you. Thank you. It's 15 minutes after.